We all know that's food. All right, it is 7 o'clock in Gardner, Kansas. Call the meeting to order. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Good evening, everyone. We've got a full crowd tonight. Welcome. We're going to start. We do have a public hearing, and do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Shute, second McNear. We hold a public hearing in connection with the adoption of an amended and restated development plan for a reinvestment housing incentive district in the city of Gardner, Kansas, Grand Street Reinvestment Housing Incentive District. All in favor to open?
Aye.
All opposed, abstained. Public hearing is open. If you would like to come forward to speak on this particular item, now is your chance.
Mayor Tom Calico with Baker Tilly, here to speak to the feasibility, or the revised feasibility study for the Grant Street RHID.
Sir, actually, we might, if you're all right with it, we might just go ahead and wait till that agenda item comes up.
If that's the mayor's preference, that's fine. We structured this way because we've had contact Rock give presentations.
Okay, that's fine then. Yeah, go ahead. All
Okay.
right.
Great. All right. Thank you, Mayor. So I'll cover a few topics tonight. First, just a brief update on the original 2023 feasibility study. Talk a little bit generally about what, just remind you and those in the audience of how an RHID works and what's the incentive. Then give you the results of the updated study and just close with a brief discussion of risk. So background, this reinvestment housing incentive district was created in 2023. I won't go through all the detail here, but you went through all the various procedural steps that are required by state statute. This table gives you a quick snapshot of the proposed change to the RHID. Just quickly going through it, single-family estates, there were proposed 76, there are still 76 proposed. That part of the project is actually not in the RHID. There are still 87 villas. The big change you see at the third line here, senior townhomes are increasing from 110 to 152. No change in the senior independent living multifamily. And then the corresponding change is the senior assisted living multifamily portion. That is eliminated with the corresponding change to senior townhomes. We go from 419 to 371 total living units in the RHID. Just a reminder, what is an RHID? It is a financial incentive to encourage the construction of both single and family multifamily in the state. It works very similar to tax increment financing. Sometimes it's referred to as tax increment financing for residential. It works by capturing the incremental increase in value that's created and the corresponding taxes. So, you know, in this picture, basically you've got that base value, right? The base value of a piece of property prior to development, represented by both the appraised and assessed value. You construct the project. As a result, both the appraised and assessed value go up. And of course, it's that appraised and assessed value that you apply the tax rate to determine the taxes that are collected. So because you have an increase in value, now you have an incremental increase in taxes. And it's that incremental increase in taxes that is then captured and redirected to pay for a portion of the eligible project costs. This is a drawing of the project. You'll see the single family there that's already platted. That, as we talked about, is outside of the district. But this is the area, 44 acres, 27 acres, of which are going to be subdivided into the single-family lots. 44 acres makes up the portion that's in the RHID, and this is on Grand, across from the school, between basically Grand and the railroad tracks. The initial assessed valuation, that base assessed value that I talked about previously, is about $8,500. None of that's changed. That base was established back in 2023. The incentive cap is not changed. It was established at $6.6 million back in 2023, and as I said, it remains the same. At the time, there was a term of 16 years. Obviously, 3 years have passed, so we've got 13 years remaining potential redirection. So what we found when we forecasted out how much in increment we anticipate to be generated given the development that's going to occur, the anticipated value of that development, and how much it would increase the value of the property over the time remaining, we did forecast out that the revenues will be sufficient with some developer contribution to fund the $6.6 million in public infrastructure that would be paid for by this RHID. Not too surprisingly, we slipped back a little bit because we've lost 3 years, right? But we come awfully close. About $6 million is what we're projecting right now that could be supported. I would tell you it's a conservative projection. We use some very conservative. We use 2% growth for assessed valuation, for example. We assume no principal reduction until the very end. Like I say, a conservative estimate. So there's a chance that the full 6.6 million, but conservatively we're projecting about 6 million can be supported, with the balance then being made up by developer contribution. So just closing, whenever we talk about incentives, there's always some questions about risk, and I just want to reiterate, I think probably you know, but maybe for the benefit of those listening in, this is a pay-as-you-go incentive, which means the developer bears the risk. If the project doesn't happen, if the project doesn't generate the amount of increment that was anticipated, it's the developer's risk. That means they just, if like I say, if the increment isn't generated, the developer just doesn't receive the reimbursement. The city will be, and none of the other taxing entities will be under any obligation to make up any shortfall. With that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions.
Yeah, we'll probably go over the questions later
Okay.
when the item comes up, but thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
Is there any other comment for this item? Seeing none, we'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion McNear, second Deaton. We close the public hearing. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, abstained. Public hearing is closed. Okay. So we will now move to public comments. And members of the public are welcome to use this time to make comments about city matters or items on the agenda that are not part of the public hearing. If you wish to come forward, please limit your comments to 5 minutes or less. There is a time clock over here on your left. Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and the podium is now yours.
Dale McKinney, 380 North Pine Street, Gardner, Kansas, 66030. Asking a preacher to keep it to 5 minutes is fun. I am the pastor at Gardner Faith Chapel, and Faith Chapel, as we are contemplating some development for the property that we have, the board has asked me to come to you and see if there is anything else that we could possibly come to for some agreements on the plat issue. We have an excise tax in excess of $33,000 in excise tax for the property that we have. I understand that excise tax is primarily for development, and that development is really not needed for where we're at. We already have 4 lanes of highway. We have all the stuff that we need in that area. So there's not really an excise tax needed for the area that we are in. Obviously, we are a small congregation, and that is a large amount for us to be dealing with right off the front, as in addition to obviously working on building and developing the land that we have. So we we love this community. You guys know us. We've been here long enough. You've seen some of the things that we do. We are a part of Gardner. We love to help out with things like the Candy Blast and the Pumpkin Patch and chamber stuff. And, we want to be a participant in the community. And so if there is anything that can be done, we understand that there could be some need for use of our entryway to develop some extra parking for Vets Park. Obviously, the park is fantastic. However, that has created more people who want to use it. And so the parking that's there is a little bit inadequate. We are happy to allow people to use our parking. They use it all the time throughout the week. That's fine. We don't have need of it throughout a lot of the week. We have people using the rest of our property. We have the school come over for 6th grade at the end of the year. They're using our Gaga Ball pit and using our soccer goals. And I'm hoping to get some volleyball nets set up here pretty quick. In the future, even, as we expand the parking, look at the parking lot, I would love to mark off some lines for some pickleball courts and some things like that. So
now you're really greasing it.
I'm greasing the wheel. I'm greasing the wheel. So I understand that last time I was here, they said there's some other options, some other people who might be able to take advantage of that. I have not been able to find anyone who could be taking advantage of this same kind of a deal on an excise tax. There's just so much that can be done with that property. We want to make Gardner as wonderful as we can make it. And, just with the things that we want to do with that property, I think it's only going to benefit our community, benefit the people who come to the park. If we are able to build a bigger building, I could even see some kind of coffee shop on the side of the building where moms can come get a drink and, keep an eye on their kids at the park at the same time. I just think there's a lot of potential there. And I think it's potential that as a community, you guys would like to invest in. And so I want to give you that opportunity to maybe help us out with something on that excise tax, since it is not really required for the area that we are in. And it obviously was developed in 2000, and obviously nobody's had to pay that because they haven't developed the property since then. But I don't know if that excise tax has gone up since 2000, but even maybe going back and paying whatever it was in 2000 initially. I don't know if it was the same then or if it's gone up, but we would appreciate anything that you guys can do, from waiving that excise tax to decreasing it, or even delaying part of it, even maybe deferring only the parts of the property that we use in paying the excise tax on what we present to develop on specific parts of the property. We're open to a lot of different things, a lot of different ways to work with the city. And like I said, we're not going to close off our entrance and keep people from parking at the park or something. That's not who we are. So, but we want to work with you guys, and if there's anything that we can do, we'd love for you guys to put us on the agenda, and we come back, do some talking, and see what we can figure out.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you very much.
Is there any other public comment?
Hello, good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Alan Flesberg. I reside in the northeast portion of Gardner, Kansas, 520 Parma Way, 66030. I would like to take this opportunity to bring to the attention of the council an issue I noticed during the recent 4th of July holiday. It involves the discharge of fireworks on public property, in this case, especially the Gardner Municipal Airport. All right. I recently brought this issue up during the last Gardner Airport board meeting to advise Kellen Headley, Public Works Director, and the airport board members. This was to inform them of the issue and my intent to present it to the council at the next council meeting. I'm involved with the activities at the municipal airport as a member of the glider club that operates out of there. Our club rents open hangar space, and some of us use closed hangar spaces also to keep our aircraft. We operate mostly during the weekends. I'm one of the main tow pilots, and I'm at the airport regularly. During last year in 2024, my wife and I flew to Wichita, Kansas during the July 4th evening to have dinner with friends and come back during the time so that we would be away from our residence when the majority of loud noise and smoke was in the air. As we approached the Gardner area from the southwest, we noticed a large barrage of the fireworks that were discharged over the city and near the airport. We continued even to New Century Airport, where we performed some takeoffs and landings for night currency. We also noticed there were many fireworks being discharged upward from the new apartments within the Gardner city limits that are south of New Century. And they're just under the final approach to runway 36 there. I went to Gardner Airport the next day to check on our club equipment and hangars. I found some pieces, a couple of them, a small number in front of our open hangar near one of our aircraft, and I also found some debris by the main terminal building that's not more than 50 or 60 feet away from the aviation gasoline pump that's on the ramp. This year in 2025, I went to the airport on July 5th to check to see our equipment and hangars again and look at what debris was there, and to my surprise, I didn't find any. Later that day, I found out why, and I went and talked with Jim Holgraver, who's a city employee, and he indicated he'd already come out and cleaned up the area of holiday debris, and it took him a little over an hour to get it. There was that much. He showed me some photos he took. People were using the parking lot areas by the airport there and discharging their fireworks and not bothering to pick them up. The last 2 years indicate fireworks are being discharged on airport property, and the amount of activity seems to increase this year with the debris. I would like to request the city might provide and post some signs during the next 4th of July holiday to inform people that the airport is not private property and the discharge of fireworks is prohibited on airport property. Signs have been needed for the 2 parking lot areas near the current terminal building and the fuel pump, as well as 2 more, 1 for each side of the hangars. A patrol car passing by a couple times during the evening would help, but I know that the police are probably busy during that evening. The effort to provide the presence of signs would help improve the following: increase the visibility that discharge of fireworks on public property is prohibited and is a punishable violation. It would help prevent the possible damage to aircraft that might be parked on the ramp that night near the terminal building or the open hangars like we have without doors on them. It's a public airport that now has lighted runways and allow aircraft to take off and land that parallels the parking lot even on that night. And thirdly, possibly prevent fire issues near the aviation fuel pump next to the terminal building. Mayor, council members, thank you for your attention this evening and consideration of the matter. I will provide Mr. Headley, who serves as airport manager, with a copy of my remarks and be available for questions or comments if desired. Good evening.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there any other public comment? Seeing none, we will move to consent agenda. Is there an item on the consent agenda council would like to remove? Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion McNear, second Deaton. We approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? Consent agenda passes. No planning and zoning consent. We'll move to committee recommendations. Committee recommendation number 1. Consider approving a conditional use permit for Tad's Shaved Ice at 314 East Main Street.
Thank you. Tad's Shaved Ice has been located in Gardner for a number of years and is requesting a conditional use permit to locate or to continue to be located at 314 East Main Street. You may recall that in December of 2022, the governing body amended the regulations for food and beverage mobile uses to differentiate between food trucks that are truly temporary and those that are considered semi-permanent or permanent. Food trucks that connect to utilities and/or do not move from the site when they are not operating are considered semi-permanent or permanent and do require conditional use. There are a number of conditions that we were recommending both by the Planning Commission and staff that are included with this conditional use permit. Many of them are based on the fluidness of food truck operations. For example, a food truck operator may decide that they need to provide seating. They'll go purchase a couple picnic tables and place them near their food truck, not realizing that there are specific distance requirements for food trucks and their seating from driveways, et cetera, and that they need to submit a revised site plan to staff. Based on Tad's shaved ice stand being semi-permanent, the operator is required to obtain a conditional use permit. At the Planning Commission meeting in just this last month, the applicant was the only one that spoke. There was no one at the public hearing that spoke on this application. In relation to both this application and the following one for a similar request, the Planning Commission's discussion focused around the length of the conditional use permit being 5 years. Staff explained that food trucks are required to get a temporary use permit annually, but the conditional use permit would be for 5 years. That gives them some level of comfort in terms of moving forward and potentially making some improvements to the site. So with that, the Planning Commission and staff did recommend approval of the conditional use permit for Tad's Shaved Ice with 13 conditions as outlined in your report and in the ordinance. And so we have on the screen tonight a suggested motion for you. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right, thank you. Is there any public comment on this item? Seeing none. Council, do you have any questions?
Have we had any issues with this establishment complaints, code violations, or anything like that?
I'm not aware of any.
This may not be necessarily germane to this particular topic, but again, this kind of dovetails also with the next topic, and that is we have a lot of food truck activity in our city, which is great. Is there a possibility that we could work with these food trucks if they ever wanted to look for something more permanent than a food truck, as to whether or not we might be able to work with them to get I would say brick and mortar, but something like that. I know that the Fair Board has decided they're going to create a food truck area north of, west of there. Oh, they're not doing it anymore? Okay. All right, because I think that was being taken advantage of by one or two food trucks, but I think it'd be kind of nice to welcome those folks into our community permanently, but.
I mean, I guess it's, their business model.
I understand that. But that's all I had.
Okay. Anything else? Is there a motion or?
So moved.
Yes. Second. Motion shoot, second Baldwin. We adopt ordinance number 2843, approving conditional use permit 25-305-04 as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deaton.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Ordinance number 2843 passes. Thank you. And then new business or committee recommendation number 2, consider approving a conditional use permit for Tokyo Hibachi at 435 East Main Street.
Similar to the last application, they are a semi-permanent, permanent food truck. They are moving across the street and therefore they're required to get a conditional use permit. They previously did not have one because they've been there at their current site long enough prior to those regulations going into effect. At the public hearing, no one spoke regarding this application. We are recommending approval both by the Planning Commission and staff with the conditions that are outlined in your ordinance. There is one additional condition from what you saw on the previous one, and that relates to the disposal of their fats, greases, oils, those types of things. So that's the only difference.
Thank you. Any public comment? Council, do you have any questions?
Same question for this people. These, I know they're moving, but any issues with where they have been or any complaints? And,
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, if anybody did, and nobody commented.
No one was at the
Okay.
public hearing.
and I saw, does this one not require them, because the TADS, they had 2 picnic tables. This one, they are not providing any seating?
They're not proposing any seating. We did include that as a condition that if they do, they need to come back with a revised site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the reasons the condition list is so long is it reiterates what's already in our ordinance for these folks. Maggie's already indicated these things tend to be fluid. Sometimes they'll put seating out on a moment's notice. They'll go over to Home Depot, buy the picnic tables, pop them up. All of a sudden we're sitting there going, wait a second. So by doing the conditional use permit and the ordinance this way, they're on notice about those 13 conditions that are within the code. We will be talking to them if those things pop up, if they do move their seating over there, because I know currently they have seating at their current location.
Yeah.
They'll have to meet the requirements of the code if they bring that seating over.
Okay. Yeah, that was one of the things that confused me, because I thought I remember seeing seating at there.
Okay. Is there a motion for this item?
So moved. Second.
Motion Baldwin, second shoot. We adopt ordinance number 2844, approving conditional use permit 25-305-02 as recommended by the Planning Commission.
Councilmember McNair.
Yes.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Dean.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Ordinance 2844 passes. No old business. One item on new business. Consider adopting an ordinance of the City of Gardner, Kansas, adopting amended and restated Reinvestment Housing Incentive District Development Plan, Grand Street Reinvestment Housing Incentive District. Mr. Wolf.
This item is related to the public hearing you had earlier tonight. Essentially, the Grand Street developer desires to modify the residential project to be constructed in the southeast part of the district, described in the original development plan, by replacing the 90 assisted living senior apartments with approximately 42 more senior living townhomes. The proposed ordinance basically amends and restates the development plan.
And we've already had public hearing on this, so council, do you have questions?
It's not a planning and zoning. So
Um,
I'm gonna chime in because I kind of anticipated the question. So very quickly, the terminology used with the RHID regarding development plan is very different than the planning and zoning requirements that we have. So the proposed changes are also currently on the agenda for the next planning commission. That will be considered by them as part of our preliminary development plan process. So there's a revised preliminary development plan part of the zoning element. This development plan is specifically in regard to the RHID and the financial elements of the project itself.
Okay. Thank you for clarification there, because I know that a couple of us have had discussions with the developers, so.
To complicate things a little bit more, we also have another thing called the development agreement, which will be coming back as an amended, restated development agreement in August.
Okay. Really quick here, I've just got a couple of questions. First of all, I'm a little concerned, this is a statement, not really a question, but actually it's a really more of a question for the developer, and that is, you know, what was the motivation behind removing I know it's removing density, but it's also removing a product offering for the assisted living portion of this property, because that is something that definitely is of critical need within our community. There are not, I think we have like 2 possibly assisted living facilities here in town. I think the medical lodges and then Vintage Park, I think, are the only 2 that we have in our community. And so there's a critical need for that, and I'm a little concerned that that has been removed from the development. And then the second question is from the standpoint of the new townhomes. Are those going to be market rents, which means I'm assuming they're higher end amenities and things like that, correct?
The developer is here tonight, and I believe he can answer your questions.
Super, I'd love to hear from.
I'm Mike Brock with Grand Street Development. Your first question, the reason why we decided to change it is because we reached out to at least 10 different retirement assisted living companies, and they all came back with the same answer, that Gardner wasn't ready for a project like this. 3 years ago, my partner in the subdivision, he works for one of the companies, does a lot of their work all over the United States, and they're based out of Kansas City. And we met him out there on the site, showed him everything, and he said, you know, this looks great, but we're not interested until this whole thing's developed out. And I said, well, there's people here in town already that, you know, are in the need. He's like, yeah, but until all these houses are full, these are our customers. They'll, you know, move over here. So I didn't think a whole lot about it. I thought, well, that's just his opinion. So we started reaching out over the last 3 years, and every single person came back with the same answer, that Gardner's just not big enough yet. Which I found that hard to believe, but as a financial burden, we've been getting a lot of interest on the townhomes, and I thought, well, let's just take that out, put townhomes in there, since we've been getting so many phone calls and emails about those, and then maybe we can, on the senior apartments, maybe we can incorporate senior living, assisted living in that portion of it. You know, since it's a 4-story building, or we've been approved up to a 4-story building, we could take maybe the first floor, the 4th floor, or whatever floor, and make that assisted living, and then, you know, have senior apartments in the other 3.
Yeah, my concern is really more around what it takes to put an assisted living facility in. Obviously,
Well,
there's
there's-
specialized equipment, there's specialized staffing and things like that as well.
And that was the staffing was another part. They're like, well, you know, usually our staff comes within the area, and they asked if, you know, Gardner, you know, because those jobs don't pay that much. They're like $15 an hour.
Yeah.
And they asked if, you know, if they would have enough staff here, if they're gonna have to come in from Kansas City or wherever. And I said, well, I mean, there's people here that travel to Kansas City to do the same thing, so I didn't see that as a concern, but they did.
I think folks forget we're 25,000 people, but that's beside the point.
You know, and for them to
Um,
put up a $40 million investment
Yep.
to gamble on if Gardner's big enough, I mean, I understand it's a lot of money.
Would there be enough flexibility in the plan going forward in a subsequent phase to potentially introduce that offering? I know we were talking.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And
Repurposing
the last,
the apartments.
the
yeah.
3rd phase coming up Warren Street at the very end of, like, by CMI, where the apartments are gonna go, the apartment building. I would like to try to figure out how we could incorporate, you know, do a 3-in-1 building where it's assisted living, maybe a memory care wing, and then the just apartments, senior apartments.
Okay, all right. I understand the market realities and appreciate it. I just was hoping that we would see.
I was too. I mean, I put my heart and soul in this project.
know,
You know,
I know.
I'm you know, I
Catching
live
that.
south of Gardner. We have other business. We have our businesses
Yeah.
here. We have other properties here, and trust me, I didn't want to change.
Well, thank you for your frankness. I appreciate it. We'd love to work with you to see if we can potentially get that here at some point. Okay? Thank you very much.
And the second question was,
No, that was primarily the second question was about the price point on the townhomes.
so you know,
they-
as you all know, everything's went up in price. So, you
Yeah.
know, I was hoping the townhomes were going to be in the high 300s, but with the way the economy's going and everything's inflation, you know, it's probably going to be, they're probably going to start in the 400s.
Yeah, yeah. Which means they're probably not going to be affordable for the typical person in Gardner, but that's again, that's not really a heck of a lot to do with, it's the market. It's not a heck of a lot to do with what you want to do, it's just, that's the way it is.
Trust me, if we could find them in the 300s, we would. I mean, we're not the ones going to be building them, but
Yeah.
I've talked to some other builders that build here in town, developer builders, and they're telling me the same thing. You know, the price per square foot is just not possible.
We're the most affordable area in Johnson County, guys. Remember that. We're the most affordable area.
I need to disclose an ex parte conversation with Mike this afternoon. Thanks for giving me a call. I appreciate it. In that conversation, could you recap just, because I wasn't here in 2023, kind of what the amenity packages are, maybe some of what your target price points in the singles in the patio or the next layer down in senior individuals, and then just kind of what, can you outline some price points of what your proposed amenities would be?
Yeah, so on the amenities on the assisted or the senior side, we're going to have a 5,500 square foot clubhouse, which will have amenities inside of it. You know, we're wanting to put a golf simulator in there, so you know everybody likes to play golf, especially you know when you're retired. They'll have a pool with amenities around the pool, barbecue grills, stuff like that. We've got 2 pickleball courts, shuffleball court or shuffleboard court, a little dog park, a big putting green outside. There's thousands of feet of walking trails, 8-foot wide walking trails. We got picnic shelters around the 7-acre lake. I think that's about it. And those amenities, that's about $3 million on that side. And then the other side, the estates, the state homes, there's about a $2 million amenity package in that, which is a swimming pool with a big cabana with outdoor TVs and stuff. There'll be a playground, sport court, and then it shares the common amenities. So we've got over $5 million worth of amenities that we're putting into this project. And that's why the RHID is so important, because without that, we can't, there's no way we could put those amenities in it.
Mike, what's the price point of the single family of the estate side? What are you trying to get there in the price?
The estate side, they'll start in the 600s and go up over $1 million, which is a price point that, you know, Gardner's really never seen. I know couple of the subdivisions are starting to get a few houses up in the 600s and 700s, but nobody's started in the 600s and went up.
So this basically completes Plum Creek Estates, because
Yes,
that's where
exactly.
that's what it would have gone to.
Exactly.
If they had continued to develop.
But they have no amenities over there.
Okay.
So we're hoping that some of the people that live in Plum Creek Estates will move across the street.
Well, but is this, I guess I'm just my confusion. I didn't think that this RHID was part of.
It's not, but
Right.
it's,
Okay.
it's not included, but there's some timelines that I have to meet on that subdivision for part of the RHID.
But we came up with, at the time, I think we're saying $6 million is that the maximum?
Mm-hmm.
6.6 is the cap,
6.6.
plus interest.
That was,
Yeah, I think the interest is at 7%, and, you know, we had to borrow money at 8.25%,
that's what.
which is, the ticker's ticking. So when we decided to make this change a few months ago, we pretty much had to stop the project. It's been stopped for over 2 months.
Mike, interrupt me if I'm not prepared for our conversation this afternoon. But what I gleaned out of that conversation was essentially this. And this is my opinion, not yours. When these companies are saying that Gardner's not ready for these types of facilities, what they're really saying to us is Gardner isn't ready to pay the price point. We use this analogy. Just an old farm boy from Iowa. If you were going to go down and buy a brand new Silverado 3500 with a diesel in it, work truck, trim package, you're looking at $45,000, $50,000. It probably costs, for the sake of discussion, GM $30,000 to produce it. That same pickup truck in a high country trim package is $90,000. That's why you see high country pickups at the dealerships and you don't see any work trucks. Because this high country pickup is gonna cost about $35,000 to produce, minimal additional expense for the manufacturer, huge upside on and Gardner's probably somewhere between a work truck and a high country, but we they're wanting to attract these companies are wanting to attract the high-end customer, and the cost of the production of the facility and the cost of the staff to do that between the two price points is minimal.
Yeah.
And so what I'm seeing out of this is a reluctance on the part of assisted living organizations to come in here at the price point that our citizens of Gardner can do. And I think also when we started looking at this is going to be a way for citizens in town here to migrate into that. And I don't see that happening.
But that was the whole point of approving it, was to get the extra $6 million. I mean, that was the whole point, I thought. That was how it was sold to me. And we just had this discussion not, what, an hour ago? Where we're saying that we need to have a hard stance on these development packages.
I agree.
I agree.
Here's our chance. I mean, we're losing 48 residences
Yeah.
of what we said was a high value item here in Gardner.
I
We've
agree.
heard from at least one citizen who said we shouldn't approve this.
Yeah, but those are, excuse me, but those are temporary residents.
The 90 or the,
Yeah, the 90, those are temporary residents, when we're bringing in permanent residents with the townhomes.
I mean, but that was the whole point of the $6 million or the 6.6, and that's all we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
To your point about the 6.6, right? This is trading us with some incentive, RID here, for those amenities. Okay, that's all that is, one way or another. The rest of it, here's the question, and this is what almost every development comes down to. If we don't put this in, what will come in that's better? Not the same, because if it comes in the same in 10 years, it costs more
Yep.
for everybody involved, right? So it has to be better. What's that gonna be? That's what we always have to decide on these things. Because, it's been 3 years already, he's already got money sunk in it, but it's only gonna get more expensive next week and 2 years after that.
Yep.
So even if we say, no, we're gonna hold fast, that's fine. But then that portion doesn't do anything because nobody's gonna run it. And we lost more places. We lose total, the 90 total, right, becomes, what was the number, 72 different? 48, plus 42 minus 9, right? But that's 42 permanent, to your point, Mike, minus the 90 assisted, which may or may not be permanent, right? But nobody's gonna be able to afford that. I mean, it's expensive now, don't get me wrong.
Yeah. Most of the
But
folks who are going to
they
live there
can't
are
afford
not.
it in 10 years.
Yeah,
I
most of the
guarantee
folks
that.
who are coming in here are not going to be are going to be
Gardner.
Gardner seniors.
You
They're
know,
going to
one-
be people from outside of Gardner.
One of the things that occurred to me through this whole process is what was originally proposed in the beginning was a great idea. I mean, a super idea. And what's happened over time, and I feel for Mike, I feel for you because you kind of hung out to dry, and even for the city, is that during the last 3 years it's transpired, the piece that we really needed to come to the table is refusing to come to the table at a price point that Gardner can afford. So, and therefore, as a result of that, saying that it's not feasible and Gardner's not ready.
But then when you come before us and say that there is no risk to this, that the risk is borne by the developer, that's not true. Because we as a city are bearing this risk as well. Because if we say no, then you're right, we're kicking the can down the road and the price is just gonna go up and you've already sunk costs, but at the same point in time, we're losing here.
Yeah, but if I go down the road, that's just gonna sell like it's been doing the last hundreds of years.
Yeah, it's been sitting there.
I mean, I took the gamble and bought that piece.
So what are the implications if we vote no? Dave, could you look?
Well, Matt could probably give you more details, but in the reflection of things, if you were to vote no to this amended or change to the document itself, the document that currently exists today stays intact, which is the current agreement that's there. I believe the cap is the same number as Matt has talked about, so there's essentially no change to the cap. That agreement stays. Now, whether the developer decided that they wanted to continue pursuing development, or because of that it impacts his financials to the point that he feels that he cannot pursue the development at this point, that's a decision that the developer would have to make.
Thank you.
To me, it was senior living, and I wasn't as concerned about whether it was assisted living building or townhomes. I mean, to me, it was more about, finding an area that we can move people to that next phase as they progress through. So I'm less concerned about exactly what it is, whether it's assisted living or not, personally.
Except that if they continue to live, and obviously you go through independent living, then you go into assisted living / memory care. If those offerings are not here, then they will be leaving town. They won't be staying here.
But at least they came for a while.
Well, you're potentially
I
splitting
understand.
husbands and wives up, you're splitting up, forcing elderly people to leave town. Again,
Hold on. They might leave, but they're not here now. They have to come here. First, we got to build it for them to come. Right?
We were hoping that the
we
ones
were
that are
hoping
here
that was going to
today
be the case.
would progress into these units.
Right, but no, I'm not talking about those assisted living. Yes, it would be great to have those. I'd love to have it. But this is, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Mhm.
Two in the bush is not worth it, right? This is, if we throw this away to be a sticking point on the assisted living, we lose the other 400 units, most likely, potentially, right? We still, I think everybody up here still wants senior living in that spot.
Yes.
So I think that's the course of direction we want. Yes, is this ideal compared to what we originally passed? No. But it's better than nothing. It still gets us our senior living. We lose some assisted, I got it. But that's not a choice that we get to make, or he even gets to make.
I agree.
Because if they're not gonna come here,
Okay, so question here. This is an amended and restated agreement. Is there another amended and restated agreement coming?
Who knows?
It's a honest question.
And at what point is the breaking point? I mean, because the other piece is like, I guess I also understand that if we say no and we don't change the amendment and he doesn't do any further development, we're still locked in to the rest of the 13 years, right? Does it just dissolve away? It doesn't go away after. If he doesn't do anything, we don't pay anything.
right,
But
because there's no incremental tax.
Right.
It
Yeah.
means nothing after you.
But it's not like we enter in. There's a whole another agreement, a whole other. If somebody else were to come in his place.
Right, they'd have to buy him out, get a new agreement passed by us, it's not with him anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
So
We'd start the whole process over again.
Another 16 years.
So can I weigh in real quick? So I was here and participated in the negotiation. And Mike brought the assisted living, independent living to us. It wasn't a requirement. We were going through these negotiations. So when he says he intended to do it and wanted to do it, he did. So when we were looking at the RHID, and actually I got a call from David Tolan asking if Gardner could find a use for this once they changed the state statute to allow us to participate in that. And one of the things that we negotiated with Mike was that it could only be for half. And the other half was going to be estate homes. So remember, this is the donut hole that's existed for decades.
A long time.
And we've been trying to develop it. And he agreed to do estate homes on half if we did the RHID on the other. We have a need for senior living. The assisted living is just not feasible at this time. So to throw all this out over that is, I think, is a mistake.
I'm gonna add to what Jim is talking about too, and to the mayor's point also. This amended agreement does not change from the senior living environment aspect. All these housing units would still be dedicated to senior living. Just make sure we're clear about that, whether it's townhomes or not from that perspective. And also from the perspective, we did require as part of this that the developer provide us with the housing analysis, because we said we would not open the RHID up to just the standard type of residential development that could qualify under this program. We intended to be strategic about a housing gap that we felt was present in Gardner. So that is why this was limited to the senior housing component only, or the senior living environment only.
I'm open to approving this if the developer, and I believe you are absolutely acting in good faith and saying you would like to have an assisted living component in there at some point. I truly believe that is the area of greatest need for the folks that are currently in our community, and obviously memory care services as well, because that's also a big gap for us. So if and again, I don't think that there's any way that we could say that in writing or put it in any kind of contract, but I would sure like to be able to have at least some movement towards that at some point.
I will say that the guy that's helped me do all the RHID program, he's the one that worked with the state and done them all over the state of Kansas. And our deal was the very first one that ever had any assisted living even in it. Nobody's tried to do it before.
I get your sentiment, but I don't think it applies here.
Well,
we can't say, hey, we're going to approve your restaurant. Sure hope you put a bar in it.
Well,
self-rise. I mean,
I think he's just
we're gonna,
expressing his.
I get that, but we
it's,
are.
I know we can't.
approving
I know we
what's-
can't force it. Actually, the current development agreement does enforce it.
Right. If you
so,
change it, you're saying it.
So that's
just expressing.
Yeah.
I got a couple of questions because I was on the council in 2023. What was the original intent of this?
To fill
Was
the
it
donut hole with senior living.
Does this, in the price points and the type of thing that we're doing, does this fulfill that original intent, or have we escalated the price?
We haven't escalated the prices, Steve. I think the market has escalated the prices.
No, I'm just, when I say by escalating the price, I mean going from a work truck to a high country.
I get your point, but that's two different things. We still would get senior living in the donut hole. Whether or not it's affordable senior living is not part of this. We can't control that. That's the market. This is not rent-controlled land. Okay, so I get that it would be nice for senior living to be affordable. According to the market, this is affordable.
Sorry.
I mean, you and I might disagree with that, but that's not what the market says.
Mark, I can guarantee you $100,000 your senior income would not cover any of this.
Remember that whole discussion we had about Marin County? This is kind of the same situation.
And the average in Johnson County senior household income is $53,000 a year, not $100,000.
I know.
It doesn't even come close. So this is serving the very elite.
This will be higher end. This will be a higher end
think the
clientele
market is what's
because they can afford it.
But you have to add supply. I mean, this goes back to your point. I mean, now I'm arguing the other side. But my prerogative.
Well, yeah.
Now you're going to bring in those prairie villagers that want to have senior living here.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with that? Bring them here.
Well, you throw 20 your Gardner residents out on. You say, well, you don't.
It's the same thing with the property tax argument. We're basically.
But you're not displacing anybody that's current. Get that right. We're adding other people, not saying, hey, you that live over there in that subdivision, you're out. That's not what we're doing.
Well, as they age and they need senior housing, yeah, we would be doing that.
Yeah.
That is not because of us. That is because they have different needs.
Could I take a minute and just share what's coming at our family and coming at many other families like ours? First off, losing my father in April this year, he went from living in a town out in the country in Newton, Iowa, to an apartment, to assisted living, to memory care, to the casket. Okay, and that's the progression we're talking about. What we were hoping to have here. For my wife and I was diagnosed with Parkinson's 8 years ago. I know what my fate is. And for my wife and I, we have children that live here. We've lived here since 2000. We are members of the community. We have 2 sons, 2 daughter-in-laws, 6 grandchildren that live here in town. And my wife is going to be being a single widow very soon. And this kind of a progression is important to us because what it does, it's going to force her to be separated from her kids later in life, and she needs that in that support structure the most. So yes, this is a very important situation. I don't want to gloss over this lightly, the senior assisted living thing. Well, it's nice to have. It's an essential part of this plan. And if we have any compassion at all, we need to start looking at the lifestyles and the way that we're affecting seniors instead of just tossing them out on the street, just simply because they don't make enough money. We just agreed that $100,000 a year of retirement income would not be enough for this type of facility. Yet the average in Johnson County is 53, and the average in Gardner is even less. Do the math.
Well,
But I mean, how much are assisted living?
it's hard math.
Yeah.
Well, and part of that comes into whether you qualify for Medicaid. Our family's been through this. I know this subject through and through, Todd. And I can tell you, this is a nice to have. I would love to have this in our community, but the critical piece that it has, the market, the providers of that piece of the service just refuse to come to our price point. Would that be a fair statement, Mike?
Probably. It's the market reality, and the market reality is that appropriate care for elderly residents is becoming virtually impossible to get unless you are
because
no 6 figures need apply.
They want the margins and the profits.
Yeah, no sub 6 figures need apply.
You're not wrong. We can't fix that piece here tonight. That's not us.
Yep.
That's the market, that's those companies. Write their CEOs and say that they're too greedy. We can't fix that. Do you want senior living in the donut hole or not?
Best approach, highest and best use.
So Mike, you're telling us if we say no to this, you cannot possibly move forward.
Why don't we?
Can I speak?
Go ahead, Casey.
Yeah, Casey's been very.
Okay, so definitely want the assisted living, but I want the senior housing more. And if I have to pick one or the other, I'm going to pick the senior housing. Because if we require assisted living and don't get anything, we still have a huge gap. So if we put in the senior living, and then maybe it fills up, and then maybe some of these companies come and say, hey, this is feasible, down the road, we can address that. But if we don't do something here now, we're not going to have anything in the donut hole, and we're not going to have additional senior living, which is needed.
I've had a couple of companies that the city sent my way that were interested in coming to Gardner, but after they did their studies, they bailed.
Mike, I asked you this question on the phone this afternoon. Should we say no? Are you able to move forward with any of this at all?
Probably not.
They'll kill the project.
Okay.
All right. I feel like it's time for a vote. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Baldwin, second Shoot. We adopt ordinance number 2845, an ordinance of the City of Gardner, Kansas, approving an amended and restated reinvestment housing incentive district development plan, Grand Street Reinvestment Housing Incentive District.
Councilmember Baldwin.
Yes.
Councilmember Deep.
Yes.
Councilmember Ween.
Yes.
Councilmember Shute.
Yes.
Councilmember McNair.
As much as I hate to say yes.
Ordinance number 2845 passes. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. Move to council updates. Chief.
Last week, we entered into a commitment with the Kansas Law Enforcement Accreditation Program to start the accreditation process. It takes approximately 3 years to become accredited. We hope to get it done sooner than that, but I don't make any promises about that.
What will that entail there? What will be the benefit?
It basically ensures that we're following best practices, that our policies are in line with the best practices across the state and the country. and just makes us, it's a checks and balances system for things like evidence, custody, transport of prisoners, use of force policies, things like that.
Okay.
It's just another layer.
Good, excellent, thank you.
Yes, sir?
Does, as much as that sounds great, is there anything in there that if we find that something is unique in our area, and we're probably not evidence, handling, but does that then cause us to become unaccredited and we fight about it?
There are typically, and I don't know exactly the number, but in my experience with accreditation, there are typically opt-outs. You have so many standards you can opt out of. Now they typically can't be one of the critical standards, but that I've not seen that be an issue. But yes, there are typically standards that you can opt out of for reasons like that.
Okay. All right, thank you. Renee?
I have nothing.
Matt?
Nothing tonight.
Amy?
Nothing tonight.
City Attorney?
Nothing from me.
Okay. Gons?
Nothing tonight.
Jason?
Nothing tonight, Mayor.
Dave?
Planning Commission next Monday, July 28th at 7 p.m. here in these chambers. Otherwise, nothing else.
Thank you, Kellen.
Nothing tonight.
So Pastor is still here. I would recommend that he come in for a pre-app meeting and talk to staff about what he's wanting to do and have us take a look at it.
Excellent. That's good.
Great, thanks, Jim.
And did you want to, I know you briefly mentioned that we met with the...
Yeah, so we met with the retail coach, Kyle, Kofor today. Meeting went really well. The developers are, I guess one of the hurdles that you might encounter early on is with the brokers because they feel like their territory is being encroached on. But we didn't have that from either one of the developments we talked to. Actually, Grotto was very enthusiastic about them coming on, and they're going to meet with them next week and talk about what the vision is, and we're going to go and create a list of the things that we want here in Gardner. Talk about the Aldis and the Chipotles and the sit-down restaurants and things like that. We've kind of gone over that with staff and him this morning. So, and then they're going to develop a marketing plan and start recruiting. So.
Steve?
Yes? Steve?
Push Steve.
Well, I appreciate the robust discussion tonight around the work session as well as the discussion about the future course of development. I will kind of basically recount a discussion I had with the mayor after the work session, and I feel like to a certain extent Gardner is beginning to lose a little bit of its character in the long term. I'm talking about demographic shifts here, and it's not something necessarily that we can control. We're trying our best to control it, but the whole county, the whole northeastern Kansas area is seeing an explosion in expenses, and how expensive it is to live here or to work here or to play here. Maybe it's perhaps, I guess, compared to the rest of the country, we're just catching up with the rest of the country. I don't know. But I feel like we are beginning to lose, I think, a little bit of our intimacy of small town character to a certain extent, especially when you're talking about bringing a massive influx of people from outside the area coming in here to, basically replace our population. And I'm really concerned that that's going to continue to move in that direction. I think, folks in northeastern Johnson County think Gardner's a great place now. That's a little different than what it was 10 years ago when they thought we were just a trailer park. But with that happening, you begin to see the folks that have been living here generationally, been here 2, 3, 4 generations, saying, "I don't recognize this place anymore." And that's a concern. It's just a concern of mine, and I think it's one that we need to be very cognizant of. And I've only been here since 2005 myself, okay? But I do hear from a lot of those folks that have been here for a lot longer than me. And it is something that I think and it's really being driven by cost, by expenses, by things that are just out of control. And this goes back to, you know, who we have at the county level.
That's really the problem.
You know, the county level, the regional government, you know, all around us, that's just wanting to spend, and then having tough decisions to make. It's killing the character of our area. And I'm hoping that somebody at the county maybe might listen to this and say, we've got to change our approach, because it's gonna just absolutely devastate this area if it continues. It's unsustainable, absolutely unsustainable. That's all I had.
Councilman Wade. Hey, I can do whatever
You
you
can do whatever,
want.
you do whatever he wants. He can skip over if that's what he wants to do.
That's quite fair. All right, first of all, thank Mr. Flesberg for coming up and speaking. We will appreciate your feedback. I think we can take it to our fireworks committee and see what we can do. I think there's certainly opportunity there that we missed in this round, and we knew that we were going to have to tweak whatever our plan was as the 4th of July or Independence Day rolls around. Here to help you.
Well, public property's never been.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've always said you cannot do it in public parking lots, you cannot do it on the streets, you cannot do it in any of our public facilities, especially at the airport.
And whether this year was more of an aberration from Jennifer's comments from last time, that I don't know, this year was just a lower fireworks kind of year, but anyway, it's something we can address.
Absolutely.
And then also thanks for Gons and Jason for having the Greenway back open. We've gotten some comments. And then after our exceptional amount of rain last week, there's quite a bit of mud out there too. So I think there's opportunities for us to start working on the rest of the trail. So looking forward to that.
Can I interrupt again? Sorry. Gons, I want to specifically call out your staff for amazing service.
Thanks for stealing my thunder.
Oh, okay. No, I'm talking about, there was a power pole.
That's what I'm talking about.
The power pole that was in the alley that.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, the
Let me hear have it.
the power pole that was in the alley that was over by Lucador was blown over by a windstorm, and it was like sitting like this. I mean, literally like this. And there was a complaint that was put in by the hairstylist, because I was there when she was doing my hair, and she mentioned that within an hour you had 2 cherry pickers out there fixing that pole and getting it straight, and there was a real chance that could have snapped, as it was leaning over really bad, and you guys came out there like that and had it taken care of. So I just wanted to mention that was not unnoticed, and good job.
Councilman McNair.
Yes, sir. Thank you. First off, I want to say thanks for all city staff, police department, our public safety people, utility folks. Gons, you and I had a conversation between sessions. We only lost 28 residents for less than 2 hours. Had some flickers, but compared to the rest of the entire metropolitan area, we didn't have tens or hundreds of thousands of people out for hours or days. Stellar job. I mean, our city of Gardner Electric Utility just never ceases to amaze. Helen, your people have done a tremendous amount of work in response to 9.5 inches of rain in a 4-hour period. It's the staff in this city just never ceases to amaze me. And that said, I want to kind of pick up on what Steve was talking a little bit about.
Just responsiveness in general. Yeah.
We have an awesome community, and my concern is we're losing it. My wife and I moved here 25 years ago. And we thought people were weird because they wanted to keep things kind of the same, a smaller town flavor than it was getting to be. And at this point, I find myself kind of getting to that sentiment, that mindset. Because what it's looking like for us is that at some point down the road, in the not too distant future, we're gonna have to leave Gardner. Not because we want to, not because we don't want to stay here, don't want to stay close to our kids. We're gonna be forced out financially. And, you know, and the kind of the sentiment that I picked up tonight, the vibe I picked up was, well, people are replaceable. You know, when you get older, you're replaceable. And I don't know as we want to, as a city, I don't know if we want to have that sentiment. That's kind of how it's feeling. That's all.
Council Vice President?
Yeah, so I want to thank Alan for coming out and bringing that. I never even would have thought of fireworks being at the airport, so I appreciate you bringing that to us. I love the idea of signs, and maybe with the Good Neighbor group reaching out to the hangar owners and just reminding them, just in case it's them. I doubt it is, but then also to just be on the lookout for this stuff and give them the number to call. So, you know, even if our officers don't have time to do extra patrols over there, but they have numbers readily available to call, because that seems like a very dangerous situation. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, and I look forward to seeing how we can address that. And that's it. Thank you.
Council President?
On the fireworks issue, I mean, the Good Neighbor program, obviously, you know, can get that out and suggest some things, but that's counting on people doing what they're supposed to already. So, Chief, could we put something up, kind of like we do along 167th for, you know, no parking, but also maybe a barricade up on the entrances that say, you know, people that, I don't know how we'd word it, somehow if you're not a tenant of the airport, you're not allowed to be there on that particular time window.
Yes, and we could definitely add patrol. That's no problem. I don't know how we missed that this year, so I think we can do that.
Okay. The only other thing I wanted to say is I don't think either of the Steves are saying this in a. You're not trying to be detrimental.
No.
But
No.
But I basically was trying not to be offended by what you guys are talking about is not the reality that I see. Okay? The reason this city is great has nothing to do with the size of it. You don't have to be small, you don't have to be large. It has to do with the people. It always has. The city has tripled since I got here. And it is the people. It is the neighbors. It is that you can go talk to somebody. Now I get it. Some of that changes. And as we get a little bigger, you lose a little closeness with everybody. I don't know everybody in town. I grew up in a little town. I knew everybody. More importantly, my parents knew everybody, so I had eyes on me all the time. But it's not that we want to replace anyone. Some people will have to leave because their situation changes. But realize that is not due to decisions made up here. That is due to market constraints or taxing entities, which does have to do with us. Okay? But as we all know, 86% of every tax dollar has nothing to do with this group. So we do our best. But at the end of the day, it's not that we're bringing someone in to replace anyone. We're adding to. Okay? When I got here, we were right around 8,000 people. We've added 17,000 people. I didn't replace anyone. Okay? So some of them are you. So I just want to say that that's not the intention, and I don't think we should look at it that way, because we're all trying to keep this city the best place for the residents, but we all know we have to grow or it dies, and there are many things that are not in our control, and that's my piece.
Mark, I didn't mean to offend you in any way.
I didn't think you did.
And you know, or I think Stephen, I can't speak for him, but where I'm coming from on all this is we love this community. We love it deeply. It is our home. And I don't want to see economic conditions come in that force us to have to leave. That's
I
the
think
point.
that's
That would
the
be
problem. That's the problem.
That's the problem. It's not that the community's getting big. It's not that it's getting the wrong kind of people. It's not getting any of that. It's getting to the point to where long-term residents economically are being forced out. That's not intentional on anybody's part of the city.
Okay, I have nothing further to add. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion McNear, second Deaton. We adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?